Hey guys, Fixoid here, back again with another update on my Project Mustang. Got some news happening today. Something's changed. As you can see, there's no longer engine parts over there, because they're all over there. Because I needed room over here for something else. For this. Yes, I bought another motor. This is a 1994 351 Windsor. It came out of a 94 F-150, as you can tell by the truck intake that's still on it, or 5.8 if you will. I bought this because this is what's called an F4TE block. These blocks were only made from 94 to 97. The F4 is 94. The F is the decade, which is F stands for 90s, 4 is the year, T stands for truck, and E stands for engine, I believe is the last two. Anyways, the F4TE motors, which like I said, you can only get 94 to 97, maybe into 98 a little bit, and some of the bigger stuff, are roller motors. So they have a factory roller camshaft in it, not a flat tappet like this. So this is a flat tappet. Just has a metal surface that rides on the lobe on the cam. These can kind of be a pain. They suck. This new motor, these are out of a motor I pulled out at junkyard, I pulled out of a 351 out of a 95 F-150 at a junkyard. This is a roller tappet. See, it has a roller that rolls along the motor. A lot less wear happens with these. You don't have to break them in necessarily. You just still have to do a little bit of break in, but not the extent you do with flat tappets. Pardon me. And again, they free up a little horsepower because it's less friction, because there's no metal on metal contact there. So when this motor, put my flat tappet back there, when this motor came up for sale for $800, or sorry, it was posted for $1,000. I talked him down to $800. Anyways, when this came up for sale, I jumped on it because I knew it was going to go quick. Because guys love these motors for performance rebuilds, which is why I want it. But yeah, I have my phone mount set up here, and I'm going to be doing, probably most of it will be a time lapse. I'll stop and kind of look at a few things as I tear it down. But yeah, I'm basically going to be doing a time lapse of tearing the motor down to nothing. Because even though this is 35 years newer than my other motor, this is 94, the other motor is a 69, I'm probably still going to put like some new piston rings, some new bearings in it, new gaskets, and just clean it all up and paint it, make it look nice. So to do that, I need to tear it apart. So that's where this video comes in. This video is probably going to end up being super long. If you don't want to watch it, that's fine by me. You can skip through it and watch whatever parts you want. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to get my phone all set up in this mount that is suction cupped to the hood of my my Mustang, and let's get started with this. I will come back once I get my phone all mounted. Alright, back, my phone's all mounted up. You can see got my nice new motor here. My tools are off to that side, so that's why I'll be going to that side a lot. But yeah, let's get started ripping apart. I'm going to start by just taking all the extra hoses and garbage off that I don't need. Don't roll away on me here. Guess I should put something behind it. There we go, that'll hold it. Alright, let's start ripping some stuff off. Stop the time lapse for a second there. Got a nice little friend under the intake. Looks like he might have gotten to some of the wires there, maybe. Oh well, he's probably long gone now. I don't know. I'm going to definitely put gloves on to pull that out. But you can see the super tall intake is off, and see how small this actually is. Oh, that's... But yeah, all this is going to come off. Next will be the wiring harness will come off. Spark plug wires could come off. Exhaust manifolds. See, this wiring harness is already coming off. A lot of mouse crap there. So it's obviously sitting outside for a while. Anyways, get the phone back in the stand here. Look pretty good. And commence time. Couldn't find gloves, so these are my gloves. Yeah, that's nasty. Alright, gonna stop the time lapse again for a second. Got the intake and all the wiring and vacuum lines and all that garbage off. Just wanted to show you guys. You can see in here we have this retainer. Yes, I know I dropped a bunch of dirt and shit in here. Anyways, we have this retainer with dog bones that sit in here that hold the lifters and keep the lifters from spinning in their bores. They do that because the roller has to stay lined up with the cam. If that roller turns sideways, it would destroy everything. And obviously you don't want that. But yeah, I just kind of want to talk about that. Also, the inside of this engine, other than all the dirt and stuff that I just dropped into it, so far it looks pretty good. I just saw something. I didn't check if there was oil in this, so I'm going to pull the valve covers off, I think, and then I'm going to check if there's some oil in it. I really hope there is. I know it's not seized, I spun it over, but I really hope there's some oil in it, just so the bottom actually at least had some oil in it while it was sitting. Anyways, I will get the phone back in the stand, and we'll carry on with our time lapse, starting now. Stop. Alright, I'm kind of disappointed now. I got valve covers off. Everything looks good inside the motor. But then that and that happened, which is why I'm kind of pissed off right now. This one will be easy to get out, at least I hope. That one's going to be shitty. This side, however, They all came out of this side good. Yeah, just fuck. Like I said, I'm not too upset about that one because I got lots of meat there. I should be able to grab it and somehow get it out. That one's gonna suck though. I don't know if I've said this in one of my videos before, but I don't know how to weld. So I'm gonna have to take it to my work, and I have a few coworkers that know how to weld, see if they can weld a nut on there and I can get it out. Hopefully, at least. But yeah, what I want to try to do is I'm going to pull the spark plugs out and I'm going to try to check the compression on it. Now, I don't know if I want to take it off the stand and put my bell housing on it with a starter. I don't know if the flex plate that I have that came with this motor will work with the starter that I have. It's either that or I'm hand bombing it and cranking this thing over by hand to check compression, which is what I'll probably end up doing, to be honest. Anyways, I'm going to, I don't know, go and cry about that. I know it's not the end of the world, but it's extra work that I really didn't want to have to do. Oh well. Get this set back up and I'll just carry on, I guess. Alright, sorry about the little cut there. Got timing cover off and water pump and the front crank pulley and everything. And kind of hard to see, but there is oil down there. Timing chain's seen better days, but not horrible. Tried to do a compression check, just spinning it over by hand, and it seemed like a lot was leaking past the intake valve. So I don't know what's going on there, but I'm basically just gonna rip heads off next, and then I will drain oil out, and then I will take valve train and camshaft stuff out, and then I'll flip it over and get to the bottom end. Anyways, put you back in stand here and I will get working on that. Alright, got the heads off, got the valve train all out of it. Cylinders and pistons look like they're in good shape. You can still kind of see cross hatching in there. Probably just good with a dingle ball, or not dingle ball, a hone and some new rings and stuff. Cam bearings even look alright. May just reuse them, we'll see. Our cam has, you can see it's pretty much worn through the hardening on it. Pretty good marks on all 16 cam lobes. We may have some valve issues though. I know white like this is pretty normal. When I rebuilt my last truck's motor, some of its valves were pretty white as well. Ones like this that are black though, that to me, that makes me think that that either is starting to burn or it's needs a good lap job or whatever. Even this one, a little bit of white on the intake valve, that's unusual. And this one, that one may be burnt already. Same with this one and this one. I don't know, I'm gonna pull the heads apart in a later video. I'm just gonna leave them together for now. But yeah, now time to flip her over and take the bottom end apart. So that's what we're gonna do next. But yeah, so I'll put you back in my little holder here. Oops, if I can. Alrighty, she's all blown apart now. Sorry for that kind of weird cut there. My phone actually died while I was filming. Thankfully, it got to the point where I was actually just looking at the main bearings. So, not too much was lost. About all that was lost was me putting the main caps back onto the block. But that's not really a big deal. But yeah, the main bearings as well as the rod bearings are kind of all pretty wore out. So thrust bearings, like the sides of the thrust bearing, actually aren't too bad, but in here is pretty bad. Cylinders look great. They got a little bit of a bump kind of right at the top, like a ring ridge, if you will, but nothing too bad. Nothing that a good hone job will clean up. It won't be perfect, but it'll be good enough for what I'm doing with this motor. But yeah, she's a pretty greasy old girl. Even right here, this flat spot, you can kind of see it through the dirt. That's where the casting number is. It'll be F4TE, but you can't really see it. But it's got a block heater that'll probably just pull out and put a frost plug there because this car is not going to get driven in winter. But cam bearings are, probably have to put some new cam bearings in it too. They're pretty scored up. And we get the rest of this pile. Well, there's my garbage pile. Exhaust manifolds, all the wiring, motor mounts, oil pan. It's kind of all garbage that I'm not using. This is also garbage that I'm not using, same with the distributor, but that's something that I'm going to try and sell. Who knows, maybe somebody needs it. Probably same with the valve covers. Timing cover I'll be keeping. We got all the pistons out over here. The connecting rod bearings, much like the main bearings, are pretty shot. I'll turn my flashlight on here. There we go. You can see the copper on pretty much all of them. On all of them, actually, they're pretty shot. Pistons, other than the fact, excuse me, that they're super dirty, they look alright. You know, a little stiff now from sitting. Piston rings are worn out. That's fine. It's going to get new rings. In fact, it's going to get new flat top pistons. The factory compression ratio on this motor is 8.8 to 1. I'm going to put a set of flat top pistons in it that, with the factory heads, which are on the bench over here, will give me about a 9.7 to 1, which it's not a huge jump, but 9.7 to 1 for a street going motor is pretty good. I'm doing it that way so that when I eventually put some aluminum heads on this, I can find some some aluminum heads with either a 58cc chamber compression or a you know what I mean, chamber. I can't think of the word right now. And or some 60cc chambers, so 58 or 60 will give me 60 will give me a 10.1, 58 would give me a 10.4, I believe is what I worked out, which would be really good for again, a street going motor, a little more high powered street going motor. And I know I said earlier in the video that these valves are something to be worried about, but this is actually the second day now. All the other parts of this video were taken a few days ago, so in between then and now I actually did some research, and these actually, I guess it's normal for exhaust valves to be a tannish white color. It usually just means that it might have been running a little lean, which this is a emissions motor. It's from 94 when emissions were kind of in full swing. Like, this motor from the factory made 210 horsepower, which the V6 that would have been stock in this thing made 193. So a little V6, 3.8 liter V6 was making just about the same horsepower as a 5.8 liter V8. But yeah, this is black, because I figured something out. This is black, and so is this, because this valve was actually, or this cylinder was actually burning oil. As you can see it's like slimy oil kind of all over it, whereas the other ones are just kind of black, kind of matte finish carbon deposits. But I noticed that because if we come over and look at the piston that coincides with that, you can see the top of this piston's like shiny, covered in oil. But if we look at the next one, it's just kind of a little bit shiny, but it's more just straight carbon deposits, which is normal. So it must have a either oil was getting past the rings, or you can see all the oil on the side of the piston there. Either oil was getting past the rings, or a valve seal was leaking or something. But anyways, all the valve seals in here will all be replaced. Well, these, see the valve seal in here. They'll all be replaced, and as will the piston rings and everything, so it should hopefully be alright. And then we got crankshaft here, which has a few kind of, I don't know if you can hear that, a few little spots on some, the rod journals are alright, but the main, you can kind of hear that greediness. The thrust bearing journal is the worst. But yeah, like the rod bearings journals are fine. It's just all the main bearing journals kind of have a little bit of scoring on them. But I might just take some sandpaper, and what I've done before is actually, I found a video on YouTube when I rebuilt my last 351. Shut my flashlight off now. When I rebuilt my last 351 out of my 95 F-150, go check out my previous videos about that. And I found a video of a guy who, I can't remember the grit of the sandpaper. If I find the video, I'll try and link it in the description if I can figure out how to do that. And basically what he did is he cut a piece of sandpaper wide enough for the journal and long enough to wrap all the way around the journal. And then he got like a shoelace and just kind of like one hand on each end of the shoelace and just kind of moved it, like you can see my other hand, just kind of moved it back and forth to spin the sandpaper on the journal to just kind of sand it down just a little bit. It's kind of a cheap way of polishing the journal, I guess, and it worked out fine in that motor. That motor ran great. I mean, it had its issues, but it also wasn't a performance build. It was just a stock rebuild with, it had a camshaft out of a 95 Mustang in it rather than the stock truck cam. Speaking of cams, here's the cam out of this motor. Again, I talked about this a little bit earlier in the video, but you can see the hardening's kind of all worn off the lobes. So this cam's pretty much junk. But the rollers on the lifters, though, a few of them have a little bit of marks on, like this one's got a mark on it right here. But I think they'll all be alright to reuse. I can't decide which cam I want to run in this motor. Keep in mind, this is not the cam that's going to be in it when I actually like bore this motor out and blah blah blah. That's years down the road. Right now I'm just kind of going to put some pistons in it to bump the compression up and put a small cam in it. Now I was thinking either a Ford Performance E303 or a B303. Either with or without 1.7 roller rockers. The E303 has a lift of 498.498 on both lobes, and so that's with a 1.6 rocker. With a 1.7, that would be about 530.530 on both lobes, and the B303 is 0.48 with 1.6 rockers, and 0.51 I think is what it was with 1.7s. Now, the B303 has a better sound, but the E303 would probably make more power. So it's kind of a toss-up. I also kind of have a Comp Cams XE274 HR-14, I believe is what it was. And which, basically, I'm limited by the valve springs I'm using. I'm using a Trick Flow upgrade kit, which... it's an upgrade kit that's meant for factory cast iron heads. Anything from the E7, which is what these are, as you can see right there. E7 TE. Or they'll also work for the GT40 or the GT40P, which were found on Cobra Mustangs, the Lightning F-150s, and the Explorer 5-liter Explorers. So, yeah, it's a single spring kit meant to upgrade these springs, and the max lift that I can run with them is 0.540. So I'm kind of limited by that. If I went any higher than that, I'd actually have to machine, turn my light back on here, maybe. I'd actually have to machine where that valve stem seal sits, because they're dual springs. So there's this bigger outer spring and a smaller inner spring. and the inner spring would hit the seal, so you actually have to machine where that seal sits a little bit narrower and use a smaller seal. I don't want to have to do that because that's machining work that costs money. So, like, yeah, I don't want to have to do that. So the trick flow kit with a can that has 540 lift or under is kind of what my best bet for now. But yeah, these heads don't look too bad. They're obviously dirty. There's some oil in there, even lots of oil in that one. But the ports are relatively clean. Like I said earlier in this video, I'm going to be disassembling these in a later video and kind of cleaning them out best I can, and cleaning the valves out and probably lapping the valves. I got my valve lapper, tool here. Just clean the valves off and stick this onto the valves and spin it with some lapping compound in between the valve and the seat. Again, I'll have a video on that once I get to it. Probably do another time lapse type thing for that. I'll probably have a whole video on disassembling and cleaning the heads and the valves and everything coming maybe this weekend. But yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to talk about after I got motor all apart. Everything looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Again, if you need a EFI truck 351 manifold or a distributor, I don't know if the distributor is any good, so take that with a grain of salt. But the intake all looks fine. I don't know if the injectors are good or anything, but the fuel rail, as far as I can tell, has no leaks. I also have the wiring harness, the engine wiring harness for this motor that's in the junk pile over there that I'll probably throw in with this. But again, if you're in the Saskatchewan, Canada area and you need a EFI truck manifold, wiring harness, or distributor, or valve covers, shoot me a comment on this video and maybe we can get in touch. But anyways, as always guys, if you enjoy the video, please consider subscribing. I'm trying to get kind of a more regular upgrading schedule, or uploading schedule, like a video a week or a video every 2 weeks kind of thing. But again, as I stated kind of right at the start of this project, money is a little tight, so it's kind of a slow process, but I'm trying, all right? But anyways, as I said before, if you like this video, consider subscribing and giving it a like, and I hope you guys all have a nice day.